Hello, welcome to another Wisco Fanatics Wednesday. We're getting started just a little bit late today. Jake's having some technical difficulties again, unfortunately, but we're gonna get started. Jake will be in here in a minute. He's loading back up. I got some new apparel for today's show. I'm actually wearing some fan locks. I've been in touch with Thomas Grenowitz, the creator of fan locks. He's actually a really cool guy, and the cool thing about these fan locks is that for every one that you buy, they donate one to somebody with cancer so that they can rock the fan locks as well. And actually, what's really cool about this one is that you can wear it with a hat. So when you're at a Packer game and it's super cold out, you can still throw a hat on over the top of these. And actually, they're made of wool, so they actually keep the back of your neck warm. Like, picturing wearing these in like January and they'll keep you warm at a Packer game is a nice idea. So, Jake, what's up? How's it going? Technical difficulties over there?
Yeah, this laptop's been giving me a lot of issues.
All right. Well, so if you don't already know, we've only been mentioning it for the last 3 weeks or so. Thursday night, November 4th, 6:30, we're having a live show. It's going to be a lot of Packer discussion. We're going to have some stuff to give away. We're going to interact with some fans. We want to do a lot of that. And Jake's dad's getting a pie in the face. So a lot of stuff to do on the live show. That'll be a lot of fun at the Green Bay Parker Johns, really close to Lambeau Field. So going to be a fun Packer show that day. But got lots of Packer news today, starting with talking about the crazy, stressful, insane ending Packers-Bengals game. Jake, how did you feel about that game?
Well, I feel like every other Packer fan. I feel like I had a heart attack and I came back to life and the game was still going on. I couldn't believe all the missed kicks.
And then two more times after that.
Right, it was like this missed kick sides, so it wasn't just one-sided. And that was crazy, and the turnovers, and I don't know. It was actually a really, really entertaining football game. I can say that because we came out with the win, but it was a really, really great game, man. What did you think?
I was so much of like, oh no, and then oh no, and then oh my god, he missed it. Like, just it was like Aaron Jones said it. It was like a roller coaster of emotions, and that's how it felt.
Yeah, I agree with that.
All right, so let's break it down. You want to talk about the offense or the defense first?
Let's do offense first.
All right, there's definitely good things to talk about on both sides. The offense being probably the more fun side to talk about. That being said, before we get into the offense, this is going to tie in. Who were your 3 stars of this game?
Okay, my family started at number 3. You want me to start at number 1 or number 3?
Start at number 3. 3-1. Number 1 being number 1.
Okay, so number 3, he's a Marshfield, Wisconsin native, Adam Stenavich. He is the Green Bay Packers offensive line and run game coordinator. It's his 3rd season with the Green Bay Packers. I just want to say that he's just doing a great job, man. I mean, all the people getting shuffled, different positions. I mean, he's making these guys play left tackle, left guard, center, right guard, tackle, left guard, right guard. Like, it doesn't matter. If you're an offensive lineman, you're an offensive lineman. And this guy's been moving up the ranks, and he's already getting talked about as head coach candidate for a lot of teams. I was reading up on him, and everybody's very, very high on him. So the Packers are probably going to lose him either after this year or next year. He'll probably be a head coach somewhere or offensive coordinator somewhere.
Offensive coordinator, I could see being the next step for him.
Yeah, he's been moving up very, very fast in the NFL. He started with the 49ers a couple of years ago. But
cool.
Yeah, Adam Stenavich been doing a very, very good job. I watched a lot.
I like it.
Of his interviews now. Actually, pretty interesting. My second one is Devondre Campbell. I mean, he's a monster. He's getting the tackles. He's getting tackles for loss. He had that really big one on that drive. He had the first pick, obviously. Well, the second pick of the game, but he had that pick right away, the first play of overtime. Mm-hmm. And he had that tackle for loss their next drive. And the guy's just everywhere. He's making the right reads. He's flying around the field, sideline to sideline. And it's really nice to see us have a middle linebacker. Yes, Tyler.
Yeah, that's been
my number 1 is Devontae Adams. I mean, Davante Adams is just amazing. 11 catches, 206 yards. He had an 18.7 average, a touchdown. He had a 59-yarder. He now leads the NFL in yards.
Yep.
Receiving yards. And I have a couple extra that I kind of wrote down, a couple extra stats. Through 5 games, he broke his own team record with most catches through 5 games at 42. In 2018, he set it at 37. He is 44% of the Packers' receiving yards this year, and he is 37% of our targets.
Only 37.
Davante Adams is our passing game. It is.
I honestly would have expected that to be higher.
Yeah, I thought so too. But when I was looking it up, I was like, oh, we threw a couple here, a couple there, 8 here, 6 there. It's like Rodgers tries to spread around. When Rodgers is really the best Rodgers, he's throwing to the tight ends and he's getting everybody involved.
All right, so I'm going to answer James' comment real quick. James, if you missed the beginning of the show, these are called fan locks, and I think they go really well with trying to complete any look. If you check out their website, actually, they have different colors. So basically, any team you're a fan of, you can get a pair of fan locks that'll match your team colors. James said, I could have sworn Crosby screwed y'all over with those missed field goals, but the Bengals kicker couldn't kick either. That's that roller coaster ride we were talking about. It was absolute roller coaster ride of a game. And it was just crazy. So, I mean, for me, I had 3 stars. Two of mine are different than yours. So my number 3 star, I had Eric Stokes. And it wasn't because, he did anything crazy. Like he didn't have any interceptions. He didn't have any, he didn't have any sacks or anything like that. But what Eric Stokes didn't do was give up any big plays, didn't have any big penalties, which is huge because he's been getting tagged with some defensive pass interference penalties. Yeah. So he didn't have any penalties, and he didn't give up any big plays. The only big play that the Bengals really got was right before halftime, and it was on Darnell Savage, who made a play on the ball. And in that situation, we're going to talk about the defense, but you don't fault effort. So that play happened on Darnell Savage, not on Eric Stokes, not on Kevin King. So Eric Stokes is my number 3 just because Cincinnati has 3 very good receivers, and they were held mostly in check. Number 2 for me was Aaron Rodgers. Wow. I mean, 344 yards on 27 pass attempts, plus 2 touchdowns. The interception, it is what it is. He was looking for a tripping penalty on that play, didn't get it. It is what it is. But my number 1 it's Davante Adams. What else can you say about him? He's the number 1 wide receiver in the NFL. I mean, the eye test shows it. The stats back it up. He just had a career high 206 receiving yards in this game. And in the absence of MVS, people are kind of wondering, who's going to step up to fill that deep threat role. Apparently, that's also Davante Adams.
He does everything.
So he's literally doing everything. I mean, he's the Keenan Allen possession receiver. He's the DJ Moore deep threat, and he's the Mike Evans red zone guy. I mean, he does everything. He really does. So Davante Adams is the number 1 star. So that's where we're at with that. So let's talk about the offense as a whole. Jake, what were your thoughts on the offense? Nice. That's a good shirt to have.
Yeah. Bought this last year. And then we got the sad news about the whole offseason stuff. And I'm like, well, I better rock it today because they both played well on Sunday. And they're both going to play.
That's a good hat to have.
Sunday very well.
We'll good shirt to have. I was putting a hat on, so I said hat, and I meant to say shirt.
About the offense. I wanted to, I talked about Adam Stenovich, the offensive line and the run game coordinator. I wrote down some honorable mentions in Dillon and Jones because I thought they both played pretty well. I mean, Jones broke out that big run, the 57-yarder, I believe it was. Yeah. He had 100 yards. And Dillon, 8 carries, 30 yards, but he had 4 catches for 49 yards, and he had that touchdown.
I was just going to say, we got to start giving ourselves credit. We were talking about A.J. Dillon improving as a pass catcher 2 weeks ago, and then we really brought it up last week, and now he's doing what he's really doing. So, I mean, it used to be a situation where you'd see A.J. Dillon lined up in the backfield, and you're like, oh, this is an obvious run play. And now A.J. Dillon lines up in the backfield, so people ignore him, as if it's a passing play. And, they're looking at it as, A.J. Dillon's just back there to block, and then he releases, and people aren't looking at him because they're not thinking of him being, used in the passing game the way that a Jamal Williams would have. So A.J. Dillon is really, really starting to fit into that running back 2 role. So definitely happy to see that from A.J. Dillon after a couple of slow weeks.
Yeah. So the thing, actually had a career day. It was the first game in franchise history with a 300-yard passer, a 200-yard receiver, and a 100-yard rusher. First game ever in franchise history.
Nice. So, that's a good stat. That's a good stat.
Pretty incredible, man. If you think about the long history, over 100 years now of Green Bay Packers football, and we've never had that happen. And I want to, everybody's giving Matt LaFleur some flack because I agree with a lot of people. I think he mismanaged a lot of that end of that game. Yeah. I don't understand how you don't just put it in the hands of Aaron Rodgers and just let him win you the game. Rodgers is probably not going to lose you the game. Let's be honest. The numbers, the analytics, all that is on your side with that. You tell Aaron, you got 4 downs, no matter where we are in the field, win us the damn game. He's Aaron Rodgers, right? Mm-hmm. But I wanted to give LaFleur some credit. He is the 3rd fastest coach to get to 30 wins. It took him 37 games. He's the 3rd fastest. So that's pretty incredible. Only 37 games to get 30 wins. That's pretty good. I mean, he's been a good coach for us. He changed the culture. Rodgers is in a better mood. I mean, this Packers team, man, they're not hitting all cylinders. So many big names out, but I think the offense is still explosive, and the defense, I feel, is improved. I really do.
Dude,
I know everybody's going to call me homer for that.
We're in that really 10 to 15. The defense is in that 10 to 15 range where it's like, okay, when they're healthy, like they might have something here.
Right, and like the middle linebackers are flying around. They're getting sacks. Like, did you see Chris Barnes in the first quarter? He blew up the running back. I was like, dude, you know how long it's been since I've seen a linebacker from the Packers blow somebody up in the backfield? Oh, no, not yet. Not the burgundy jacket yet. We'll get there, buddy.
All right, so back with the offense.
But yeah, I mean, the defense is not doing its thing, and
Matt LaFleur was the offensive coordinator for the Titans. He should know about things while calling offensive plays, especially Aaron Rodgers as quarterback. That's James. That's it's a good point. And that's why he was brought in to into Green Bay. And we've talked about this a whole bunch of times where the offense that they're running was designed to make average quarterbacks good. It was done with Jared Goff, obviously, and that it worked far enough to get them to a Super Bowl. They couldn't score any points in that Super Bowl, but they got to a Super Bowl with Jared Goff.
Yep.
And now, it hadn't really ever been tried putting an elite quarterback in that system. And the first year of it took a little bit of getting used to, especially for a guy like Aaron Rodgers, who's, just been the gunslinger and calling whatever play he wants because Mike McCarthy wasn't going to do it. And then in year 2, just absolutely blew up, and Rodgers threw 48 touchdowns. So this type of offense, which is also predicated on a lot of balance, and that works great having a guy like Aaron Jones in the backfield. So having the personnel plus the scheme and then just the execution of it and the balance, it really works well for the Packers offense. And obviously that's what happened last year when they had the number 1 offense. All right, so back with Davante Adams, the man that cannot be guarded. Even during the broadcast, they were talking about how they're double teaming Davante Adams, and he just ran straight in between them for a 59-yard pass play.
That was so cold, dude. So cold. Oh my.
So there's nothing you can do about that. And then the thing with that too is you're so focused on Davante Adams and Aaron Jones and Robert Tonyan in the passing game that now A.J. Dillon is starting to hurt you in the passing game, that Mercedes Lewis comes out onto the field, and you're like, oh, they must be running. They brought in their big dog tight end, and then Mercedes Lewis gets a tight end screen ran for him, and he runs it for, 17, 18 yards, breaks 2 tackles, makes a guy miss. It's like, okay, all right. We got Jacksonville Jaguars Mercedes Lewis out here just making people miss and breaking tackles.
He looks like
Matt
a bear
LaFleur talked
trying to
about him bringing some
people.
juice to the team and bringing the energy that the guys all get excited when Mercedes Lewis makes a big play. So it was great to see Mercedes Lewis get involved. On your point of Matt LaFleur, he acknowledged he made some bad play calls. The biggest one that I would say would be kicking the field goal on 3rd and 15. That's the situation where you say, hey, like Aaron, Devontae, like go pick up this first down so we can either, keep the chains moving and go get a touchdown, or we can make a closer field goal for Crosby, who's, his confidence is probably a little shaky. Like, I understand the want to kick it on 3rd down just in case something crazy happens so you have another chance. But, I mean, if you're going to trust your defense with, kicking on a 4th and 1, why not trust them on, a 4th and 15? If you're in that situation, kick the field goal then. Even if you run a 3rd down play that gets you 6 yards, that makes that a 43-yard field goal instead of a 49-yard field goal. I mean, that was the one play that I couldn't really get behind LaFleur's play calling. Other than that, I didn't really have any issues with LaFleur. I don't know if you agree with that or not.
No, I agree. I guess the one thing is he kept running us down. It didn't matter. Like in overtime, every second down play was a run. And I'm like, I get it, you want to get the run going, but like we're watching Mason Crosby absolutely, throw up in front of our faces. Like we don't want to watch it anymore. Just have Rodgers throw it to Devontae like we've been watching the whole game. It's obviously working. Doesn't matter if they double him. Like Aaron, Devontae, go figure this shit out, basically, is where I was. That's kind of where my mind went. And that was me being frustrated in the moment. But they say hindsight's 2020. So when you break it all down like that, you're 100% spot on. I really don't have many things to pick at Matt about. I'd let Matt do his thing. And I talked last week or the week before where I think Matt's grown. And I said that about Giannis. When we talked about the Bucks, I think Matt has also taken a step in that leadership. Yeah. And and he had a quote today, and I'll talk about that later. But his response to the question was just perfect, and it's how we all feel. He said, "Stats are for losers. I just want to win." And that's how we feel. We don't care if it's by 3 points or 1 point. And Bears fans were like, "Oh, you struggle with the Bengals and blah blah blah." Yeah, did we get a win? We got a win.
I saw a perfect comment to that and a perfect response to that. You just beat the Bengals. These are not your grandfather's Bengals.
Yeah.
These are not the Bengals of the past that had, a hapless offense, with a quarterback that's 3 years in the league that nobody's heard of because he's always been a backup in his career, with AJ Green struggling to stay healthy and, no good running backs. This Bengals team has a really good offense if they had an offensive line.
Yes.
Like this offense and Pittsburgh's offense, like if you gave them, say, the Packers' healthy offensive line, they'd be in that top 5 area with the Packers.
I can agree with that.
Like that offense, like their offense has capable playmakers all over the field. Like Joe Burrow is a good quarterback. He's going to be good for a long time. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd, that trio of wide receivers, you could really put up with any trio in the NFL. Like the Pittsburgh Steelers, we talked about it last week, have a good trio of wide receivers with Juju Smith-Schuster, who's now done for the year, Chase Claypool, and Deontay Johnson. Obviously, we know Tampa Bay has Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Antonio Brown. That's a good trio of wide receivers. But like when you're talking about your top 3 wide receivers, like Cincinnati has a damn good trio of wide receivers. And then they have Joe Mixon, who's been a pretty good running back as well. So, yeah, Isaac, we know with Bears fans, that's going to happen every week. Oh, you just beat blah, blah, blah. It happened last year with the 49ers team who was missing Jimmy Garoppolo, but still had the 6th best rushing defense when the Packers went into a Thursday night matchup with the 49ers last year. And, it's going to be every game, somebody's going to find a reason to discredit what you've done. And that's, it's the same situation when we're going to talk about the Badgers. Because, the Badgers had a shutout, but people are going to say, oh, it's just Illinois. Well, it's still a shutout. Like, I don't care who you're playing. Like, the shutout is still impressive. So, that being said, the Bengals, their offense is good. Their defense is full of guys that play hard. So that was not an easy game by any stretch of the imagination, not to mention that it was on the road, not at home. So all of those things combined, like this really wasn't just a cupcake game on the schedule. And the Bengals are in a tough division too. Like that team has four playoff hopeful teams. So there's the Steelers are probably going to end up finishing last just because their injuries are going to catch up to them. But like that team going into this season was a playoff contender.
Oh, 100%. And freaking Lamar Jackson, what the hell has gone into that guy? He's a quarterback now who can run.
He's not he's nuts. He's nuts.
He might win MVP again. I'm being completely honest.
He might. He's having a better year than he was when his MVP year was.
I know. He gets thrown now, dude. I mean, he still misses some.
Right.
But we're so used to watching Aaron Rodgers just pinpoint into double teams, and he had a throw on Sunday. His arm gets hit as he throws it, and he just flicks it, and it's right to Cobb in traffic, and I'm like, what just happened? I'm like, he's a god. He's like, I just watch Rodgers, and he makes like 5 plays a game. I'm like, he's a freaking god, dude. I don't care what hair he has on his head, man. What mustache he has.
The fact that he can throw like across his body, throw like a weird sidearm while his feet are in the air, pointed in the other direction, like
yeah, dude.
That's arm talent that just isn't matched. Like, say what you want about Tom Brady, but his arm talent is nowhere near Rodgers. So James made a good point that I want to bring up.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, James had a good point to what Isaac was saying about you just beat whatever team, and James made a good point that teams can always grow. Remember when the Jaguars came out of nowhere in 2017? You can't always judge a team based on their past. That's a really good point. Retooling teams. Isaac just made a great point too with Patrick Mahomes. The Chiefs, they're last in their division right now. So these aren't. The NFL is an any given Sunday type situation. The Lions were a 66-yard field goal away from beating Lamar Jackson's Ravens. So saying that the Packers just beat the Bengals and they're not that good when they came in 3-1, I mean they their strength of schedule isn't what the Packers is this year, but like I said, they're in a tough division, good offense, decent defense on the road. This wasn't playing the Lions again.
I agree, and I'm gonna comment about Isaac's comment down here about Mahomes. Mahomes is amazing. I agree. Mahomes, he can run. He can sling that puppy real far. But I want the comparisons to Aaron Rodgers to stop because Rodgers is far accurate, and young Rodgers was a problem. I mean, Rodgers now still has a zip on his passes, but I'm talking pre-collarbone Rodgers. He was a bad man, dude. Like he had the zip, he had the accuracy, he had the wheels. Like young Rodgers was different.
Like 2014 Rodgers.
Yeah, like he was different, dude. And Mahomes is great. He's amazing. He's setting records, but we'll see. And I think the Chiefs they're finally getting that Super Bowl hangover after making 2 in a row. That's what I think.
All right, so I want to talk about Aaron Jones. He was a great day. He gave the Packers balance, which they need. I like how he was helping in both the passing game and the running game, like he does. Gave the Packers balance. So talking about the balance that the Packers run, Aaron Jones had 14 carries for 103 yards. And then the 4 receptions. So Aaron Jones helping with that balance. A.J. Dillon helping with that balance. A.J. Dillon finished with the second most receiving yards on the team in this game. Obviously had the receiving touchdown, but I mean A.J. Dillon is really, really stepping up in the Jamal Williams role, which is what we were hoping for last year when we were talking about free agency, that our ideal situation for the Packers running back situation was to re-sign Aaron Jones, to unfortunately let Jamal Williams go, and then to have A.J. Dillon as the number 2 running back, and we're seeing the player that we spent a second-round pick on.
Yep.
So, I mean, going from a situation, like I mentioned already, where you see A.J. Dillon and you're thinking obvious run play, and now that's not the case anymore because he's proving himself versatile and deadly in the passing attack. That's really seeing a big step from a second-year player. All right.
He's been. I think his volume's been going up each week, and he's really been performing really, really well.
Yeah, same with Randall Cobb. His volume, his usage is going up every week. That's something that Devontae talked about in his press conference last week. Is that as he's getting more familiar with the guys on the team that weren't here when he was back, and the coaching staff that wasn't here back when he was here, that's all increasing his role. So Randall Cobb is also increasing his role as well as AJ Dillon. So, do you have anything else about the offense, or should we move to the defense?
No.
All right, let's talk about the surprisingly good Packers defense. Now we're missing Jair Alexander. We're missing Zadarius Smith. Probably going to be without Kevin King next week. It sounds like what I read was he basically played this game with one arm, which makes the fact that he didn't give up a big play just that much more useful to the team, because going against these three wide receivers, we're like, which one is Kevin King going to guard? Because, that's going to be the matchup they target. Kevin King, he really held his own this game. He didn't give up any big plays. Like we mentioned already, the 70-yard touchdown came against Darnell Savage, who made an effort play on the ball. And you didn't hear Kevin King's name a lot. We talked about that last year a lot with Jair Alexander, that, not hearing his name is a good thing. That means he's not getting penalties. That means he's not giving up big plays. So to not hear Kevin King's name really at all in this game is a good thing in my eyes. All right, Jake, what are you thinking about the defense?
We've said it before about defensive backs. If you don't hear their name, it's kind of like the offensive line.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a good thing, Dunbar, I just saw Dunbar was signed for depth, and because Kevin King's probably going to be out, like Tyler mentioned before. Yep. But honestly, the defense as a whole, I feel like they played okay. You take away those couple chunk plays to Chase, and we really kind of held them in check. I don't know why they stopped running the ball. I thought Piron was running really, really hard for the Bengals. He had 11 carries for 59 yards, so that's like a 5-yard average or something like that. Yep. But he was running pretty good. I don't know why they stopped running the ball, but maybe because they were down. But other than that, like I said, take away a couple chunk plays and take away Chase, and we really played really, really well for how banged up we are.
Yeah, and Isaac, to your comment about signing Quinton Dunbar, when there's a guy like Trey Flowers out there, who's another name that I saw floated around that the Packers should take a look at for depth, it sounds like Kevin King probably isn't going to play this week with a shoulder injury. So that leaves it basically to Eric Stokes, Chandon Sullivan, Shamar Jean-Charles. If they bring up Kabion Ento, Isaac Yiadom, that's where the Packers are at with cornerbacks. And the addition of Quinton Dunbar, it is just for depth, and he was signed only to the practice squad. But he was also with Joe Barry in Washington a few years ago. So that's that familiarity is probably part of what plays into this, is that Quinton Dunbar will be familiar with Joe Barry's expectations and coaching style. And that's what I think would give him the edge over a guy like Trey Flowers as far as free agent cornerbacks are concerned. So that's where I'm at with the Quinton Dunbar signing. But we gotta talk about Dean Lowry, because he looked like another a Watt brother basically this week. So Dean Lowry.
Hey, it was Bakhtiari. He posted on Instagram.
Go ahead.
Bakhtiari posted it on Instagram on his story, and he called him All Day Dean. I love that nickname.
I don't know. I kind of like Dean Watt a little bit, because the effort that he played with to get his hands up to knock down 2 passes, and then he had the half of a sack. And then just the pressure that the entire team created. I mentioned already that the Bengals don't have the greatest offensive line, but for the Packers to keep pressure without Zadarius Smith in the lineup, especially coming from, an unlikely place like Dean Lowry, and then Tadaro Slayton getting in on the action. Chris Barnes went in and got a sack. The Packers had 3 sacks and 8 quarterback hits in this game.
Hell yeah, baby.
And that doesn't even include the hit that Darnell Savage put on Joe Burrow when he ran.
Oh man, I thought Burrow was about to be done for the day because he just tore his ACL last year. I was like, oh boy, if they have any problems with that, then he's about to sit down for a little bit.
He actually went to the hospital for a throat contusion after that.
Yeah, I know.
After that game. So we're glad that Joe Burrow's okay. Obviously, we don't wish for injuries to happen to anybody, so we're glad that Joe Burrow's okay because he's a talented quarterback and he's going to be around for a long time. But back to that, the Packers, I hammered on third downs last week, and the Packers did decent on third downs. The Bengals are not great at converting third downs, so that kind of is what it is. They kind of both met in the middle there. And then, just Eric Stokes. I mean, you can't really ask for much more than you got from the Packers secondary against these three wide receivers and Joe Burrow. The one play that Jamar Chase made on the sideline, Matt LaFleur said it in his interview that there's no defense for the perfect throw. And Jamar Chase making that catch and tapping that right toe down, that's just, I mean, the credit goes to Jamar Chase on that play. There's nothing you can do on a play like that. So that's where we're at with that. The only other thing I had written down was Darnell Savage. You don't fault effort. He went for the pass to knock it down or try to pick it off, and he just missed it. But he missed it, and then Jamar Chase obviously scored the long touchdown. So you already mentioned Devondre Campbell, so if you want to talk about him again, but that's where I'm at with the defense.
I thought Amos had a pretty good game too. He ended up with a pick. I mean, it was a bad throw by Burrow, but it was still good coverage by Amos, and he was our leading tackler. So he was kind of flying around, making tackles, doing what he normally does. Savage didn't have the best game, but like you said, you never really fault effort. And to your point about that catch by Chase, where he tapped the toe down, that's yours that you brought up last year, where you said good offense always beats good defense, and sadly, that kind of got us on one of our other teams. But it is true most of the time. Good offense beats good defense. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we have to discuss special teams in this game.
Yeah, I don't have much to say. I really don't. It is what it is, man.
I mean, Mason Crosby's not getting cut. So for anybody that you see saying cut Mason Crosby, that's not happening. He's still been damn near almost exactly perfect for 2 full years in a row. And, one bad game isn't a reason to cut somebody. The kicking on the third down was still questionable for me, but the last thing I want to hammer on is the Packers need, this is all caps, strong, bold, need to be better on kickoff return coverage. It is awful.
It will cost us later.
It will. It'll hurt us in a situation where we play good offenses. Thankfully, the defense was able to kind of mitigate some of that today. And, Cincinnati helped us out by missing some field goals. But 4 returns averaging 30 yards a return cannot happen. We talked last week about the field position battle and how doing that and having a good punter helps with that. Putting yourself in a situation where you're letting the other team start at their 40-yard line every possession they get after a score, it's not going to help you win football games. So that, I mean, you just can't do that. It puts so much pressure on your defense to have to play in a short field that, it's going to hurt when we play like a Kansas City. We have that coming up. We have to play Baltimore this year. I mean, those are offenses that you don't want to give short fields because they can score on one play from anywhere. And you're giving them an extra 20, 25 yards to work with than they would have had. So that's the last thing I had to recap from this game is the special teams. It needs to be better.
Yeah, and the craziest part is usually the part of special teams that we never have to worry about is Mason Crosby, and he was. I mean, our kick coverage was terrible, but he might have been the worst player for us on our team on Sunday with all the missed kicks. I mean, you can make an argument for that, and I don't want to bash on Mason too much because he did make the last one. He did win us the game, technically speaking. Yep. So,
yeah, he redeemed himself, so he got that.
We're just going to leave that, and hope he can improve on it.
Yeah, and a veteran guy like Mason Crosby, like I would trust him to return to form next week.
Right.
But that being said, jumping right into it, talking about the Packers offense versus the Bears defense, you know what helps you from not missing field goals? Scoring touchdowns every drive.
Yep.
So let's talk about the Packers offense versus the Bears defense. What are you seeing from the Packers offense?
Well, Isaac already commented it, but Myers and Jenkins both practiced today. So that's going to be huge if we can get
huge.
Because the Bears really rely heavy. They're kind of like the Badgers defense in a way, where they rely heavy on getting pressure on the quarterback and getting you in down and distance situations. If the Packers stayed ahead of the chains, run the ball a little bit, I really don't see any problem with the Bears in this game. Justin Fields is not a fit. He doesn't strike me as a guy like I've watched a lot of Bears games now. Like I watched a lot of them, and I haven't seen Justin Fields do anything where it's just kind of like, yeah, this guy's gonna be pretty special. No, I've seen fast quarterbacks before. I've seen quarterbacks not be able to throw before. And guess what? They don't last very long. I don't care if you're fast. Ask Colin Kaepernick how that worked. And I know he was out of the NFL for a different reason, but he wasn't very good at passing, and he really just used his legs. This is a different Packers defense. The Packers are actually, when you look at the rankings, we're better in total yards, we're better in total pass yards, and we're better in total rush yards on defense than the Bears.
So what I'm looking at
points per game because of the stinker that we threw up.
So what I'm looking at on the Bears defense is that they allow 44% conversions on third downs. The Packers were 4 for 11 last week, so they're about 36%. So they do still need to be better on third down. I ragged on it a lot last week, but they do still need to be better on third down. So that they have a decent rushing defense, but if the Packers can use it just enough to keep the balance and to set up their passing game, that they can work some play action in, which is something that I always enjoy is play action. If they can work the rushing game to get that set up, I mean, they have nobody to stop Davante Adams. Their secondary is very susceptible to the pass. Their safeties have taken steps back, I would say 2 years in a row now. And their cornerbacks just they don't have an answer for Davante Adams is where we're at with this. So I wouldn't say to expect another 206 yards of receiving, but I would expect over 100 yards, probably another touchdown, maybe 2, and some balance from this offense. I mean, you might see a little bit of extra A.J. Dillon just to try to bang up on their front seven a little bit, and then maybe can open some things up for Aaron Jones. But that's kind of where I'm at. Is Chicago has a decent run defense, not a good pass defense, and if we can loosen up their front seven and work in some play action, it should be a pretty good day for the Packers offense.
Oh yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think Rodgers is about to torch these fools, kind of like what he did against San Francisco.
I can see that.
That's kind of how I'm viewing this defense.
Yeah, and Isaac made a good comment. The red zone offense, it needs to improve. I agree. They're at about a 55% touchdown rate. Last year, they were up over like 75%. So there's obviously room for improvement there. They just need to come away with 7 more than 3. I mean, that could have saved them in the San Francisco game. It could have, saved them from being in a position where they needed to go get a game-winning drive, where their second last possession, if they had been able to get 7 instead of 3, the game would have been over.
Yep.
So when they get into the red zone, they need to come away with touchdowns, not field goals. All right, so let's move into the Bears offense, if you want to call it that. it's the Bears offense is rough, but Jake, what do you see from the Bears offense versus the Packers defense?
The Bears. All right. This is where I'm going to throw out some numbers. The Bears average 240 yards a game. That's total, the entire game, 4 quarters, 240 yards. They average 113 pass yards. They actually have a good running offense, 126. And they average 16.8 points per game. The Bears offense is terrible, and the Packers defense is actually pretty damn good. So when we're thinking about the game, we're thinking, how does our offense match against their defense? How does we do those cross matches.
Yep.
And our offense and their defense is pretty good. It always is. The Bears always play good defense.
Yeah.
But our defense and their offense, there's a gap. It's very big. That's what
it's very big.
I feel like we're going to force Fields into a couple turnovers, maybe a fumble or two, a pick or two. And if the special teams doesn't blow it for us and give up a big return or something and set them up, I mean, I really think that our defense can really, really take advantage of their very, very bad offense. I think Justin Fields is going to have a bad game. And I feel like everybody in the Prime Sports mod chat is not going to like me after the game. So it is what it is, because I'm gonna be bringing that talk. And I'm also going to make $50. So the Packers are going to kill the Bears. It's going to be bad. I'm going to give my score prediction because I'm so excited for it. I want to know what you think of it. My score prediction for the game is 33-13. It is not going to be a game.
All right.
Not for 4 quarters will it be a game.
This is weird how often this is happening, because I'm going to throw my score prediction before I talk about the Bears offense. My score prediction is 27-13.
Yeah, I can't see them scoring more than that. I thought I was being nice giving them 13, dude. I really did.
We should start keeping track of our score predictions and how many times that you and I predict the same score.
We're gonna have to find out when we do the Wisconsin, and we'll have to see if we're close on that one too.
All right. So for me, looking at Chicago's offense, their offense is nowhere near as good as the Bengals.
No.
They have the same offensive line situation. The Bears don't have an offensive line. Whether it's Justin Fields or Andy Dalton, Matt Nagy seems to be wanting to start a different quarterback every single week and never letting any quarterback start 2 games in a row. So it's maybe going to be Justin Fields unless they want to, declare him out for an injury reason, and then they want to go back to starting Andy Dalton. Neither one of them scares me. Andy Dalton doesn't have what Justin Fields has in the running game, and Justin Fields doesn't have what Andy Dalton has, in passing or league experience. So I'm really not concerned for the Packers, no matter which quarterback plays. And then when you get into their receivers, the Bengals have 3 good receivers. Chicago has 1, and they're really not even using him, which is Allen Robinson. Robinson and Darnell Mooney both kind of underachieving, which you could maybe chalk up to the quarterback play, which Chicago really hasn't had any quarterback play worth noting thus far. And then talking about their running game, you mentioned that their running game is actually pretty decent, and it has been. This is going to be their second game without David Montgomery, who is the identity of basically their whole offense, and then especially their running game. But the Bears offense has 2 passing touchdowns the entire season. So 2 passing touchdowns.
The whole fucking year, dude. Holy shit. Oh my God, they suck so bad. Oh wow, that's hilarious.
I didn't expect that reaction out of you. I'm not gonna lie,
dude. The whole year.
All right, so they will probably still try to win by setting up the run game. The Packers' weakness in the past couple of years has been their rushing defense. It's been better this season, as Jake already mentioned. But Jake mentioned the 16.8 points per game. They only convert 32.76% of their third downs. This is something I'm going to bring up probably every single week. Like, I always have one thing I key on with every team. So for the Packers, it's going to be third downs. For the Brewers, it was walks, and for the Bucks, it was turnovers and free throws. So now for the Packers, it's going to be third downs. That's going to be the thing I'm going to bring up every single week. Both sides of the ball. The Bears do not convert third downs at a high rate. The Packers need to get off the field. Don't let the other team extend drives, keep Rodgers off the field. Packers need to get off the field, get the offense back on, and that's what they do. Yeah. So that, and then so the Packers are still allowing 45% conversions on third downs, even after doing well against Cincinnati last week. So the Packers' third down defense is improving, but it's not great. And then the Packers' third down offense needs to do better. So I said 27-13 just because I do think the Bears still have a solid defense. It's not great, and it's definitely susceptible to the pass. But, Isaac's comment about the red zone offense not being as good as it has been. So that's where I'm at. So three guys that we wanted to bring up, I had seen questions asked, were Josh Myers, Rasul Douglas, and Jalen Smith. I want to know your thoughts on these three guys. You already brought up Jason Myers a little bit, or Josh Myers a little bit, but talk about those other two guys.
Well, Jalen, he'll play this limited role. I could see him being used in just rushing the quarterback or spying on Fields, because he's got the speed to keep up with Fields and run sideline to sideline with him. Like I said, again, rushing. And Rasul Butler, I don't know if he'll play. He probably will, just because, the Kevin King news of him probably not playing. But if he's thrown into the role, then he'll just go out there and play some defense.
That's Rasul Douglas. Rasul Butler played basketball.
Sorry.
All right. So, yeah, I mean, Jalen Smith, if he plays...
Sports stuff. I got something up here.
Jalen Smith, if he plays, I could see it being somewhere around like 30% of snaps, working him in on some special teams. Rasul Douglas, I mean, the Quentin Dunbar signing doesn't really give me confidence that Rasul Douglas is going to really mean anything for this team, except for having guys in the practice squad to get reps against the opposing receivers, to give our wide receivers, just more guys to go against in practice. It's kind of scary, but it's going to be Eric Stokes, Chandon Sullivan, and it's probably going to be Yadam as the third cornerback. That's probably what it's going to be. They might mix in some Shamar Jean-Charles, but the Bears are really a two wide receiver team. They added Marquise Goodwin, but they do not use him. But they don't have a quarterback that can throw the ball down the field anyways, so they don't really need a deep threat, fast wide receiver.
Yeah, I mean, if we're going to have injuries at cornerback and be playing our 5th, 6th, or 7th corners, this would probably be the game that it's okay.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. So, yeah, you said 33-13. I said 27-13. Do you have anything else as far as the Packers are concerned?
Yeah, I think it's time for some weather report, buddy.
Oh, yeah, here we go. Jake's weather report. All right, do it.
All right, here we go. Jake's weather report. In Chicago on Sunday, it's going to be 65 degrees. Winds west at 15 miles an hour. Wind gusts up to 22. No rain. And it's going to be 7% cloud coverage. I put the cloud coverage in there because there's going to be more cloud coverage than the Bears covering Devontae Adams, because that ain't happening. That's your weather report. Enjoy your weekend, folks.
We got to get a green screen behind you for that.
I got it, dude. I'll be pointing in the wrong direction.
Like, if you notice, there's a cold front moving in on the eastern side of the field. All right.
Oh, gosh.
So let's keep it with football, and let's move from Packers to Badgers. Now, we finally have some good news to talk about with the Badgers, but before we talk about the games they played, let's talk about Jalen Berger. I want to know your thoughts. on what happened with Jalen Berger?
Well, I don't remember if I said it on here or if I texted it, but I definitely said that Berger was probably being an issue. I knew he was a 4-star recruit, so he had a little bit of entitlement feel to him. And he just got outworked by Malusi. And, if you're a Badgers fan, you don't like Malusi, it is what it is. The guy came to work. And if you don't want to work, you don't want to earn your spot, then, okay, bye. You're not going to get shit handed to you, okay? If you make it to the NFL, shit's not handed to you. People coming for your job every day. He just gave up, basically. He gave up on the program, and it is what it is. So I wish him nothing but luck, wherever he ends up.
Yeah, and
not a fit for Wisconsin because we're blue collar around here, man. We work for one.
Yeah, and the thing with that is, it takes a mature approach to have somebody, leap above you on the depth chart. And then to go with that, you can take two approaches. And I would say Jalen Berger took the wrong approach in this situation, but you can take two approaches. You can either work harder than the guy ahead of you and reclaim the number one spot, or you can stop showing up for practice. And that's what Jalen Berger did. He stopped showing up to practice because, instead of, like Jake said, working harder than the guy above you, he just decided that, he should have had that job without having to, outwork the transfer from Clemson. And Chez Malusi has earned his spot. He's played well. He hasn't turned the ball over. And, we're going to talk about him in this recap. But, not showing up for practice is not the way to go about that.
I actually had one more thing. So my stepson, he plays Y ball on Saturday mornings. And it's just a little 7-on-7 flag football. And my stepson's very talented, very fast. He has good hands. He's going to be a good player, if he keeps his head on straight. But he has a little bit of an attitude issue. So we ended up going to Altitude. It's a trampoline park that night with him and one of his buddies. And when we were leaving, I bought them both, some pretzels, and I'm sitting them down, and I'm trying to talk to them because I'm trying to turn these kids into men, And I'm telling them both, I'm like, listen, I don't care if you're faster than everybody in the field. I don't care if you throw farther. I don't care if you're the best player on that field. If you have a shitty attitude, you are causing your team problems. And that attitude will trickle down to everybody else on your team. So I'm with the attitude and come to work. Because he gets so discouraged. I know he's 8 years old, but you got to get this mindset into these people. Because if you don't get it into them when they're young like this, they turn into Jalen Bergers where they think everything's handed to them. That's not how it works.
Yeah.
So he's got to learn his lesson, and I'm going to go to the game on this Saturday, and I'm going to see if he actually listened to me. Because he better listen. Otherwise, I'm going to beat his butt because he's got a chance, man. So people coach your kids. It's okay to yell at your kids once in a while, okay? Get these kids so they don't feel so entitled. Because I'm sick and tired of walking around with a bunch of 17-year-old entitled assholes. I'm not dealing with that anymore.
Well, and that's not just a sports thing, but that's a life thing that, you don't want to be in a position where nobody wants to work with you because you have a bad attitude.
Right.
So my dad opted in and asked if there wasn't also an off-season issue that was still pending. That was two different running backs. One was dismissed and one was suspended from the team. Berger wasn't involved in that. That was two freshman running backs, not named Braylon Allen. So it's a good transition into talking about the running backs. So let's keep talking about running backs. Let's talk about the Badgers offense. Let's talk about Chez Malusi and Braylon Allen. What do you got?
Huh, they carried us, man, literally and figuratively.
Nice pun. Nice.
Thank you. The Badgers against Illinois, they were old school, man. They had 61 carries, 391 yards, 3 touchdowns. Malusi and Allen, I split up their stats. Malusi, 21 carries, 145 yards, and Allen had 18 for 131. They both had a long of 53-yard touchdown. In contrast to Illinois, this is crazy. Illinois had 67 pass yards. They had 13 rush attempts for 26 yards. They had 93 total yards. That is insanity. This Badgers defense, man, I know this Badgers team has been a letdown so far, but, man, this defense really deserves a lot more love. It really does, man. They really shutout in the Big Ten game.
Mm-hmm.
That's tough, man.
I mean, a shutout is tough to do in any game. I don't want to hear that. Oh, it was just Illinois. Like a shutout is a shutout. Like
they should have two. They should have two.
They should have two. It's like a Chase Wolf throwing a pick six against Eastern Michigan annoyed me. But I mean, that just goes to show, like, even in Eastern Michigan can score a touchdown on you if you take your foot off the gas.
Yeah, exactly.
So in the in the vein of not taking your foot off the gas, Jake mentioned the 93 total yards by Illinois. Wisconsin had 491 yards. So the Badgers put up about 4 times as much yardage as Illinois did. Obviously, won 24-0. So the thing that I want to bring up with Malusi and Braylon Allen is that they've both done well in different styles of running. Now we know Braylon Allen is a stocky, muscly AJ Dillon type runner, and Malusi's kind of an all-around guy. But on their touchdowns, Malusi actually showed some heavy hitting. He got low, he went pad to pad with guys, and he stayed on his feet and scored a touchdown. And then Braylon Allen on his touchdown, he kind of ran into the offensive line, took a step back, was patient, bounced outside, and then ran for his touchdown. So, guys doing, a little bit of everything is definitely something you like to see. It gives you more confidence, especially the ones that need that confidence the most. It's neither of the running backs. It's the offensive line. They needed this game for that confidence. Now they can go and do a similar thing to Army and build that confidence as they get closer to the Iowa game, which is going to be the next game that's circled on this schedule. But this game serves as a huge confidence boost for this offensive line that they were able to, put up 391 rushing yards, against Illinois. So that's the big takeaway. If you want to say, oh, they just beat Illinois, I don't care. They put up 391 rushing yards, and that's a confidence boost to the offensive line.
Yeah, I agree, 100%. One last thing I'd like to say is that the Badgers defense had 10 pass breakups against Illinois. That's a pretty impressive number, and a bunch of them from linebackers. So I was like, okay, so we're getting close to the line. We're knocking passes down. We're hitting people. I just wish we wanted, either the one of the games that we lost, either the Penn State, the Michigan, or Notre Dame. I wish we could have won one of those, and then we'd still kind of be in a conversation of like, this team's still really good,
Mm-hmm.
The turnovers, man, it killed us. It sucks.
Yeah, and Graham Mertz did throw an interception in this game. It was a ball just a little bit underthrown, and for my liking, I'd like to see that ball out sooner and more on a line than seeing the guys open and then trying to throw a go up and get it type throw. If that throw was just a second sooner and on more of a straight line instead of a lollipop type throw, that's a completion for 30 yards instead of trying to go for 45. So that's something that Graham Mertz can learn from. But he did enough to not lose the Badgers the game. He didn't win the game, but he did enough for the Badgers to not lose the game. So hopefully he can take a little bit of confidence away from this, even though he didn't play spectacular, but his error that he made didn't hurt the team. And what I want to say that the Badgers have a big three, and all three of them are on defense in the same position group, and it's the linebackers, and it's Jack Sanborn, Leo Chenal, and Nick Herbig. That's a big three of Badgers linebackers that are all disrupting. They're all effective in the running game. They're effective in pass rushing, and Jake just mentioned the pass breakups. So those three are all over the field. Even when guys are breaking tackles, when the rare occasion that the Badgers don't make the first tackle, all those guys are just swarming. It happened once. Illinois had like a 3rd and 4, and they slung a receiver out, and he caught the ball right around the line of scrimmage, broke a tackle, and within seconds, there was 4 Badgers there making a tackle to keep them from getting the first down.
That's a sign of a good defense.
Absolutely. Did you know that on the first 6 possessions for Illinois, the only first downs they got were off of penalties?
That's impressive.
Did you know that Illinois was 1 for 12 on third downs?
Did not know that, no.
Did you know that Illinois did not cross midfield until there was less than 9 minutes left in the entire game?
Actually, that one I did know. I didn't know the second one. That one I did know.
So all those things combined, the defense is fantastic. And then the run game is back to Wisconsin style. And, even Chenal being used in the short yardage situations, he scored a touchdown. He converted a couple thirds and a couple fourths. And then even Brady Shipper late in the game had some nice carries. So, I mean, I'm not saying that the Badgers are going 4 deep at, stud running backs and you're going to have 4 different 100-yard rushers, but, all the guys that they have in those situations are useful at different things in that game. All right. All right. You have anything else recap before we talk about Badgers versus Army?
No, sir.
All right. You want to talk about the Badgers offense or the Badgers defense first?
Offense.
All right. So for me, there's really just 2 or 3 things that the Badgers need to do. They need to continue improving in the red zone. Graham Mertz needs to work on his touch. And they just need to keep setting up the passing game with the run. And they need to just pass just enough to keep the run game, honest for Army's defense. But I don't see that being a problem as long as Mertz can limit his turnovers. But keep using the running game. Like I said, hopefully the offensive line built some confidence. Army allows 276 yards per game, and 222 of those are passing yards. So maybe this is a game where we can see, Graham Mertz get right a little bit and use Kendrick Pryor, Kemare DK, and Danny Davis and Jake Ferguson. And then just get the run game going again. And don't abandon it too early like they did against Penn State and Notre Dame.
Yeah, our offense, we're just gonna have to pound the ball again. We're gonna see that a lot this year. Pound the ball, try to set up some play action pass to Ferguson or Davis, like you said. I mean, DK he can get down the field. He's a good player. I really, really like him. That was a good find by you. But yeah, that's really what it's going to be. Just pound the rock and pull a big game out of Malusi and Allen, and hopefully another dub. I mean, I think it's going to happen when you hear my score prediction. It's a little disrespectful. I'm sorry, Army. Thank you for your service, but not on a football field.
All right. So talking about the Badgers' defense against Army's offense, Army has a decent offense. They are 4-1, so it's not it's not a cupcake game, but Army plays who they play. They're averaging 387 yards of offense, only 69.6 yards on passing attempts. So their strength is not our weakness, which is the secondary playing too soft at times. Their strength is their running game. And Jake already kind of foreshadowed it a little bit that it's kind of similar to an Eastern Michigan type matchup where their running game was their strength, and the Badgers' rushing defense is their strength, and we saw the Badgers won that situation. So, what are you seeing from the Badgers' defense versus Army's offense?
Well, I got a couple things. So Army on offense, when you brought up the averages. They are 16 of 33 on pass attempts for 348 yards. Yikes. They have a 325 rushing attempts for 1,591 yards.
That's crazy.
They throw 33 passes to 325 rushing attempts. Yes.
That's 10 rushes per pass attempt.
Yeah, it's crazy. The leading guys are quarterback Christian Anderson. He has 187 pass yards and 431 rush yards. He's their leading rusher and leading passer. And on our defense, our leading tackler is Noah Burks with 16 tackles.
Okay.
That's crazy. Only 16 tackles. Badgers have 12 players with at least 10 tackles. 12.
You know what that says to me? That the Badgers don't miss tackles. That tells me that the first guy to the play makes the play.
That's fair. The Badgers and Packers both have 12 players with 10 plus tackles. I thought that was pretty crazy. The one thing that I want to see the defense improve on, and it may be a cause they're so fundamentally sound and we don't get a lot of opportunities, is I want them to force a little bit more turnovers. They only have 2 interceptions and 2 forced fumbles on the entire year. So if they could create a little bit more havoc and maybe give field position on top of, I know I'm asking a lot out of the defense, but it's kind of what it has to be for us to win big time.
I mean,
we're going to have the number 2 team in the nation coming in our house pretty soon here. So we're going to have to do something.
All right. Hit me with your score prediction.
All right. I gave him 3 points because it was Army. I didn't want to give him 0. But I got us 30-3 over Army. I really don't think the Badgers are going to struggle.
All right, we're close. I'm going to say 28-6.
Okay. That's pretty close. It's pretty close. I almost had 30-0, but I was like, this is Army. That feels mean.
I'm going to give them a couple field goals. The Badgers do have a little bit of a penalty issue, just grabbing on pass attempts. So that's hopefully something they can remedy against a team that doesn't pass very much. And then the Badgers defense, the rushing defense is what it is, and it's great. So I don't expect much offense out of Army, but for me, a couple of field goals isn't out of the realm of possibility. So I'm going to say 28-6.
I agree.
All right. You have anything else Badgers related?
No, sir.
All right.
Let's get it over with.
We got to do it.
Yeah.
All right. What do you want to say?
This is what I'm going to say, and then we're going to move on. You cannot win with a bunch of 250 hitters. We don't have one 300 hitter in our lineup. You cannot win like that, especially in the playoffs. We just wasted one of the best starting pitching staffs in baseball history. Josh Hader was on a roll, and I don't understand why he threw a slider the first pitch to Freeman. That makes no sense to me. But here we are sitting here with the early exit. Freddie Freeman's a good player, so that's another reason why I don't understand why he threw a 4th straight slider. Obviously, he had that up. But here we are. You can't win with a bunch of 250 hitters. I'm not blaming Counsell for anything that he did. I do think that he left Ashby in a little bit too long, but I'm not here to nitpick. He did a great, amazing job this year. We have a great GM. The Brewers will still contend next year. We'll still have a great team next year, but you can't win with a bunch of 250 hitters. That's my only thought. That's the only thing that came to my head. I mean, I wrote down the hit totals. I'm not even going to get into that because it's just ugly, and you gotta get some professional baseball hitting. And Tellez was really the only one that showed up in this series.
I mean, Willie had 5 hits, but nobody played well in this series except for some of the pitchers. Yeah. And with this series, we're not going to get into a bunch of the stats or say a ton about this because this was the playoffs. It was well documented what the issues were, and the things that I want to say is that Craig Counsell is not getting fired. I mean, for as many people called for Budenholzer's head for how long after early playoff exits, it's now, Craig Counsell is now looking at the same thing. And it's going to be similar to what Aaron Rodgers said about the Packers a few years ago, where it's not going to be a rebuild, it's going to be a reload. And, the Brewers are in a position where if they can add some hitters to this team, they're going to be in a position to contend. The NL Central, it's going to be wide open next year. It's going to be the Brewers for the losing. The Cardinals are getting older. The Cubs are going to be looking at prospects for most of the year. I don't know what they're going to do in free agency, but that's up to them. The Reds, they're not really an intimidating team, and the Pirates live in and own the basement. So we'll see what the Brewers can add. I don't really know what to say. I mean, we'll see what they can add. That's really the only thing we're at. I mean, Burns, Woodruff, Peralta, Urias, Adames, those guys are all here for at least the next 3 years. Christian Yelich is obviously here for a long time. Hopefully his off season can be focused on getting healthy and then back into his form. Even if it's just returning to all-star form, doesn't have to be, crazy 2018 in the first 3 quarters of 2019 Yelich. Even if he can just return to all-star form and, get back to, hitting closer to 300 like Jake was calling for. One guy that I was really disappointed kind of disappeared in the playoffs was Colton Wong. He'd been getting on base all year and then, kind of vanished in the playoffs. Willy Adames did a little bit, not much. I mean, Luis Urias didn't play game 1, but, he played pretty decent. He played good defense. He got a few hits. I mean, that's for being a 23-year-old in his first year as an all-the-time starter. I give Luis Urias a lot of credit for the stuff that he went through this year and then still, performed pretty decently in the playoffs. Devin Williams, make better choices, please. And then, we'll see what they can add. That's where I'm at.
Hopefully the hitters, man. Shit.
Yeah. Ron, I just see join the broadcast. Jake, what did we say about Jalen Smith and Rasul Douglas?
They'll probably play limited roles on Sunday, is what we're both expecting. They won't be playing like 50 snaps or anything like that. Right. They'll be in a limited.
Yeah. So for me, it's going to be about 30% of snaps for Jalen Smith, and it's going to be more like Isaiah Giadim for cornerbacks than Rasul Douglas. Yep. All right, let's close the show on a happy note. Let's talk about the Bucks. Let's do it. Woo! All right. So we're each going to give.
I got to do something.
All right, do it.
Oh shit!
Oh, look at this guy. You should have led with that. All right, let's talk about the Bucks. We're each going to give three bold predictions like we've done for every team so far this year. So we're going to do that. I don't know if you want to lead off with that or if you want to talk about the team first.
We can lead off with that. My first bold prediction is not very bold, but people might not agree with it.
No, that's all right. I mean, let's start with number 3. You give your number 3. I'll give mine, and we'll go back and forth. Let's start with your number 3 bold prediction.
Okay, my number 3 bold prediction is that Giannis is going to win the MVP and Defensive Player of the Year again.
Okay, that ties in a little bit with my number 1.
Does it really?
A little bit, just a little bit.
I didn't think anybody would really agree with Giannis winning both again, but I'm like, yeah, I think he said TJ Ford makes a return.
Well, Isaac, I'll wear a TJ Ford jersey for you next week, and then you can say he made his return.
I keep seeing memes of TJ Ford at Media Day, like back in like 2003 or whatever, and his shorts are all the way down to his shoes. And I'm like, man, the times have really changed.
And they're still tied around his waist. He's just wearing, Andrew Bogut's shorts.
Right.
All right, Ron, thanks for checking us out. My number 3 bold prediction. This one's a little bold just because Jordan Clarkson is so damn good off the bench. But my number 3 bold prediction is that Bobby Portis wins 6th Man of the Year.
Oh, I like that.
So Bobby Portis, his role, it really only increased as the year went on. And then in the playoffs, he played a lot. He played a big role. His energy, I mean, how can you not love Bobby Portis? He embodies the state. He talked about being a blue-collar guy in a blue-collar city, and his energy on the court is infectious. And, I mean, there's nothing to not like about Bobby Portis. I mean, we talked about him last year. He's got a little bit of work to do on the defensive end, but offensively, he was one of the best three-point shooters in the entire NBA. not just on the Bucks, but in the entire NBA during the regular season. And, his energy through the playoffs was just huge. So for me, Bobby Portis is going to have an increased role. I think he's going to be the first man off the bench, and I think he's going to be sixth man of the year.
That would be only good things for the Bucks. Okay. I don't want to get murdered for this one, but I've given this guy a lot of hate.
They're bold predictions.
My second bold prediction is about Chris Middleton. I am now officially a fan and on the hype train for Chris Middleton. He has answered all the calls that I've asked for him. He showed up in the playoffs. He's made clutch shots. And, he re-signed with us, which is something that we don't always get to say about this. So here's my bold prediction about Chris Middleton. He's going to go 50, 40, 90. He is going to be an all-star. He is going to be second-team All-NBA member. And he's going to average 26 points, 7.5 rebounds, and 6.5 assists.
I like
Chris Middleton is about to be the man this year.
I like it. And it's a bold prediction, but it's not outside the realm of possibility.
Right. I don't want to go crazy like with the Packer ones.
I went real crazy with my number one Packer prediction, and then week one it was like, okay, I'm just going to shoot that idea in the face.
Yeah, right.
All right. Wilkins, I have a Middleton jersey. So actually, I actually got a Middleton Finals jersey. But my number two bold prediction ties in with Chris Middleton a little bit, and that's the Bucks are going to have 3 All-Stars this year. It's going to be the big 3. All 3 are going to be All-Stars. Drew, Chris Middleton, and Giannis are all going to be All-Stars this year. Their chemistry is going to be way stronger than it was for the first third of the last season. And then, they dealt with injuries and COVID and all of that. And then the rotation tooling, all that's gone now. That's all done, figured out. They're familiar with each other. They're familiar with each other as people and players. It's showing already in the preseason, just the way that they cut and pass and the court vision that they have. The chemistry is showing already. The chemistry with those 3, I expect the Bucks to be near the top of the East. Whether it's first, second, or third, doesn't really matter. I'm thinking 3 All-Stars for the Bucks this year is my number 2 bold prediction.
Okay. First of all, Tyler, Grayson Allen might start. I'm just going to say that right now.
He's starting.
Grayson Allen might be the starting shooting guard for me.
Grayson Allen is starting.
My number 1 is I can't wait to buy another one of these. It's just going to say back-to-back on it. The Milwaukee Bucks are going to win the title again. There's a lot of drama going on with the Brooklyn Nets.
A lot.
Kyrie Irving and now freaking James Harden is commenting on everything because James Harden is just like, oh my God, I'm on a team and nobody's talking about me.
He loves the attention.
Irving. So I don't. The Nets are really the only team in the way. The Heat have gotten better. The Celtics are still pretty good. The Knicks are going to take a step back. Atlanta's still pretty good. Atlanta, honestly, probably right now, off the top of my head, is like the 3rd best team in the East. Because I don't view the Sixers as a threat right now with stuff going on with Ben Simmons.
Yeah.
There's just too much going on there, I guess we'll have to see what they get in return if they trade him, and maybe my opinion will change at that point. But right now, Atlanta's probably the 3rd best team in the East. And that's behind the Bucks and the Nets. So really, It's just the Bucks and the Nets, and then the West is just still wide open. I know everybody's still talking about the Lakers, and the Lakers are going to be very good this year. They still got LeBron. They'll let Russell Westbrook do his thing for a few games. AD will do his thing. They'll probably have 3 All-Stars too. But
probably.
I mean, the West is wide open. We really don't know. And people are really downing the Suns. The Suns could still compete and do their thing. Utah's still very good. There's a lot of good teams out there. But
Clippers are good.
There's one team that is going to win the title. It's the Milwaukee Bucks. And something that I'm really, really happy about is that Giannis has improved as a passer.
Yeah, yeah.
I was watching some highlights, man. He's throwing like hook passes to the corner, like passes.
You better pump the brakes a little bit right here.
I'm like, holy shit!
You better pump the brakes really quick. All right, let me give my last bold prediction, and then we're gonna get into some of Tyler's comments here.
Okay. Sorry,
my number 1 bold prediction is also that Giannis is gonna be MVP, but he's gonna average a triple-double this year.
Oh,
hey, these are bold predictions. That's why we do this. But Giannis is improving as a passer. His court vision. Grayson Allen is going to help out with that. You already mentioned thinking that Chris Middleton's going to have an expanded offensive role, which I agree with. Giannis saw it at times where it's not necessarily that he's deferring, but he's letting Chris do his thing. So they're coexisting as opposed to competing for touches. They both recognize what each other brings. And so Giannis, I think he's going to improve as an all-around player. And that's my last bold prediction, which is bold, but it's that Giannis is going to average a triple-double this year.
I like it, man. That would be absolutely insane. And he would definitely win the MVP.
Absolutely. So a couple things. First, I'm going to address the Ben Simmons. He's probably going to end up back up in Philly just because he won't have any other options. Philadelphia is still asking too much in trade talks, so he's probably still going to stay in Philly just because nobody's going to meet their expectations. Bold prediction is George Hill shoots 50% from three again. That is, I would say, in the realm of possibility. I could see him in the mid 40s, upper 40s. He's going to have a lot of open looks playing with Giannis and Middleton. So, and then obviously Drew is a very good point guard. And then back to Bucks related discussion. Grayson Allen and Dante DiVincenzo, they have very similar play styles, but bring slightly different things to the table. They're both scrappy defenders. They're both energetic on the floor, moving around. They stay active on both ends of the floor. But what Dante brings is effort on rebounding, and what Grayson Allen brings is better three-point shooting. So now when we're talking about who's going to be on the first offense and the second offense as far as, rotations are concerned, what better benefits being on the floor next to Giannis is the three-point shooting. That's not to say that Dante isn't valuable to this team, because he is. And they will probably, once Dante is fully healthy, will probably end up playing similar minutes to Grayson Allen. But putting Giannis on the floor, having three-point shooters around him is what benefits him more than having rebounders on the floor. You don't need a lot of rebounders on the floor with Giannis on the floor because he averages like 17 rebounds a game. So Grayson Allen is going to be the starter at the beginning of the year for sure, because Dante's probably still going to be recovering from his injury a little bit. Once Dante's back to 100%, he's going to start eating into Grayson Allen's minutes a bit. But having Dante on the second unit with guys like Pat Connaughton, Bobby Portis, and George Hill, is having him as your second unit shooting guard gives you that rebounding boost when Giannis is off the floor. So that's why I see Dante on the second unit. What I will say is having Dante and Grayson Allen and George Hill and obviously Drew Holiday is I do not envy opposing teams' guards having to go up against those four defensively.
That will definitely be a tool that we can use to our advantage. I 100% agree with that. If you really think about all the additions that the Bucks have made, they really are all 3-and-D guys. I mean, I wrote down the major ones, the major four, I guess I'll call them. I wrote down Mamu, the rookie. Obviously, I think he might eat in some minutes. He'll definitely be a star in those games where we rest all of our starters.
Oh yeah.
And then the other four that I wrote down were Grayson Allen, obviously, Semi Ojeleye, Rodney Hood, which hopefully we might get a better Rodney Hood team that it's a good locker room, got a winning mentality, and he's 6'8", he's long. If we can just get him to take a couple steps and give us something, that 3-and-D, he's got long arms, he can shoot. And George
if he's
Hill,
healthy, he can contribute.
Yeah, we know what George Hill is. Last year, I wrote down all 3 percentages for all the guys that we brought in, right? George Hill was at 38%. Rodney Hood was at 30%. Like I said, he's 6'8". So really what he brings is the ability to play multiple positions.
And Rodney Hood's been a good three-point shooter previously.
Yeah. Same thing with Semi Ojeleye. I mean, he's a pretty good player. He's pretty much the guy, in my opinion, that is the same body size to really replace PJ Tucker. Except he's a little bit better on offense, in my opinion. He can pick and roll a little bit more, but he can shoot threes from everywhere, not just a corner. He's a 36% three-point shooter, 75% from the free throw line. And Grayson Allen, man, I was actually really surprised at his free throw percentage, 86%. And he shoots 37% from three. So, I mean, he had to play the other night where he ran a pick and roll with Giannis, and he went and he dunked the ball. And after the game, Giannis goes up to Pat Connaughton and said, "You might not be the most athletic guy on the team anymore." And it's like, we got a bunch of white boys out here that are just flying around the court, dunk the ball, man. And then he's got Giannis who just looks like a god. But, I mean, Grayson Allen's going to be really nice, man. He definitely is more offense than DiVincenzo, but I still love watching DiVincenzo compete on the defensive end, man. Like, he is a grinder. And, you know, we get along with those kind of people. We love people that are grinders, that are like, I'm going to get out the mud, you know?
Hustle.
Yeah. That's why we love Pat. Pat's a grinder,
absolutely. Too. And they leave it all on the floor. And Dante is absolutely one of those guys. He'll dive after loose balls. I mean, you know, that his effectiveness in the rebounding, that's where that comes from, is his willingness to do the dirty work. And, you know, you need guys like that to help, alleviate some of the pressure on a guy like Giannis or Middleton and Holiday, so that they don't have to be, you know, banging around with guys having, you know, dirty work type guys around your stars. That's how you build a championship team.
Oh.
So, you know, hopefully Mamu can become one of those guys and back up Brook Lopez as he gets older. Because right now the backup center is basically Bobby Portis and Giannis. Budenholzer talked about running Giannis at the 5. He's going to do it for some short spurts of time. And, roll Giannis out there with some smaller lineups. He even talked about using Pat Connaughton as the 4, the power forward at times. Obviously that factors in with Chris Middleton on the floor, who is, you know, a few inches taller. Tyler brought it up in the comments, and it is absolutely the reason that they made the move. Was PJ Tucker leaving is exactly the reason they brought in Semi Ojeleye. As soon as we signed Semi Ojeleye, I went and started watching a bunch of his highlights, and he's a 3-and-D guy. And honestly, watching his highlights, he's probably one of the better guys that's ever defended Giannis. PJ Tucker has done well. Bam Adebayo is still probably the best defender of Giannis. But yeah, Semi Ojeleye has probably been one of the better defenders on Giannis. If we come to a situation now again where the Bucks meet the Nets in the postseason, you're going to see probably 3 or 4 different guys guarding Kevin Durant. And that's going to be Giannis, Middleton, Semi Ojeleye, and Pat Connaughton a little bit, and Drew Holiday a little bit, just because they switch a lot. But the 3 primary guys guarding Kevin Durant is going to be Giannis, Middleton, and Semi Ojeleye.
I would agree with that. I think they'll probably throw they were throwing Drew Holiday on him a lot when they would take PJ Tucker out.
Yeah.
So I could see them, because, you know, if we have DiVincenzo and we have Grayson Allen, now we have we have that ability to just throw those guys at James Harden and Kyrie Irving and kind of just let Drew Holiday just do his thing, because Drew Holiday's a strong guy for how little he is, you know.
Yep.
He can get underneath you and annoy you a little bit. I think we'll put Giannis on him, but at the same time, I kind of don't want him to do that, because I don't want Giannis to get cheap foul calls. But there is that new rule now, which will definitely change the way coaches coach.
Yep.
I think that rule is going to allow the playoffs to be even better.
Yeah.
Because now we're not going to get all those cheap-ass foul calls. Now it's going to be, I am against you, man on man, best player against best player. None of this cheap shit. I don't want to watch that, dude. Nobody wants to watch that.
Yep.
Nobody wants to watch a guy pump fake, wait 5 seconds while the guy's flying in the air, and then jump and flop. Yep. I don't want to watch.
Yeah,
in the playoffs, I want to do it. You're my best. And Giannis is an old school kind of guy, dude. So I love it. That only benefits us, because we don't do that shit a lot.
All right. The guys that have the most changes to make are easily James Harden and Trae Young. And Devin Booker is going to have to adjust to that. He shoots a lot of jump shots, and he does a lot of the unnatural leg kicks and the head throws and the chicken wings, all that.
Steph Curry.
But those 3 are 3 guys that are going to have to make some big adjustments. But they might as well have put that in the rule book as the James Harden rule, because that's who that rule was made for.
Yeah, dude. You see him crying in the preseason game the other day? I was like, yes. Yes.
I commented on that on Twitter. I'm like, they made that rule for you, dude. Like, that's what it's there for. It's there because of you shooting 25 free throws a game.
Man.
2 comments in here I want to address. Ron, thank you for saying we have a great show. We're live every week, so we can respond to your comments. That's why we do the show live. And Tyler, for your comment about Middleton getting a lot of those calls, Middleton actually, as far as the jump shooting calls, he does do some of the pump fake and jumping into the contact. But a lot of the foul calls that Middleton gets on his jump shots are for guys landing under his feet. That's where Middleton gets a lot of foul calls. And that's still going to be a foul. That rule is not changing. You can't put your feet in the landing area of a jump shooter. That's Chris Middleton's game. That's his natural shot, is to jump forward a little bit. So guys putting their feet in the landing area, that's still a foul. So Chris Middleton, that's still fair game for Chris Middleton.
Dude, Middleton this last year, I'm not gonna lie. First of all, he did improve as a playmaker. That was your call.
Yeah.
And he really, really improved at understanding the physicality of basketball. I'm not even kidding. Like, he understood that, okay, I'm going to get bumped here. Or if I go to the line, this guy's going to be here and I'm going to get hit here. And I have to finish like this. Like, he just got so much better at the physicality.
Yeah.
And the wear and tear of him, I guess. Him and Giannis, they both look like they got tired in the playoffs, the last couple of years before, obviously, this. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. I think we're going to win the title again.
So 2 more comments now. Tyler's saying he would get the call right out of the screen and he would pull up. That, if he's getting a foul call in that situation, is going to be for like a guy grabbing his arm to try to keep up with him on the pick and roll, or just guys trying to step in between the screener and the ball handler. That's not what that rule is. That rule is about the unnatural jumping motions, which ties into my dad's comment about taking a jump shot, stepping off to the side, just to try to create, contact between players' feet. It's not so much about the creating contact with the feet. The unnatural leg kicks, that is part of this new rule. That's something that I would say that Devin Booker has some adjusting to do when you do the fadeaways and you have the huge leg kicks. That's not something Middleton really does. He usually he's pretty good about keeping his feet under him for the most part. He jumps forward a little bit. Obviously fadeaways are fading away. That's why they call them fadeaways. But the feet getting tangled up, if it's not a situation where you're doing an unnatural leg kick, that's still going to be a defensive foul. And as far as pick and rolls are concerned, fouls called out of that. It's not really going to be shooting fouls. It usually isn't. Middleton usually tries to pull up in that situation when he feels the contact and hears the whistle that he puts a shot up just to try to get a shooting foul out of it, because Middleton is a good free throw shooter, which ties into one of Jake's bold predictions. But Middleton, he knows how to play the game, and that ties into Jake's comment as well about being a better playmaker. Is Middleton, he knows how to play the game, and I don't think he abuses the officiating as much as a guy like James Harden or Trae Young.
Yeah, I agree with that.
All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about Sandro Mamu. They've been calling him Mamu a lot, is what I'm hearing. So that seems like it's going to be the official nickname. Jake already hit it a little bit that he's going to be the guy that shines when they don't play the starters. Dude, Mamu's got some skills. Like he can handle the ball. He can handle the ball. He can shoot. He's got some slick footwork in the post. He can dunk on people. He had a slick reverse. They were playing the Nets the other day. Mamu had a slick reverse layup and drew a foul on Blake Griffin. So it's not like he was doing it against, Nets reserves. Like, he was going against Blake Griffin, drew a foul, and then hit a slick reverse layup. So, like Mamu's got some skills. If we get into a situation where, Mamu he needs to get a little bit faster and have a little bit more athleticism, and then improve on defense a little bit. But, he's got a bag of tricks.
Who do you want me to answer that question, or are you going to answer it?
Why don't you answer the question, and then I'm going to go on a rant about it after.
I think Mamu was a better basketball player. Mamu can rebound. at a very good clip. He can shoot the three. He could be a pick and pop, pick and roll player. He can
handle the ball
because he's a very, very good passer. Doesn't play defense. Neither of them really play defense. The only thing that Mamu does on defense is cleaning the boards. But Nomura is just a straight up just striper shooter, and that could be used with Mamu's skill set. You could run him off a bunch of screens. We've talked about this before. Run him off some screens and have Mamu just hit him with a pass in the corner, which they did.
Yep.
I think Mamu's a better overall player. Nomura probably in the category of better scorer.
Yes, and that brings me to what I want to say. Stop saying that Jordan Nwora should be starting based off of Summer League and preseason. Knock that shit off. Knock it off. Jordan Nwora, he's a prospect. He was the 46th pick last year. He's not jumping into the starting lineup of a championship team. He's behind Grayson Allen. He's behind Dante. He's behind Pat Connaughton. He's not jumping into the starting lineup because he scored 30 points in a preseason game or a summer league game off of 20 shots. Now, that being said, Jordan Nwora has a ton of potential. What I see from Jordan Nwora is a great three-point shooter, a willing shooter, a guy that shoots with confidence. Something that we want to see Dante do more of is shooting with confidence. Jordan Nwora has that confidence. And I got to say, Jordan Nwora, he's got a nice floater. He puts in that floater. So he's got that. So that answers the question that the way that Jake did, is that Mamu is the better basketball player, but Jordan Nwora is the better scorer. And, as far as role or opportunity is concerned, the Bucks are much deeper at shooting guard and small forward than they are at center. So the opportunity is also bigger for Mamu.
Yeah, I agree with that. Mamu can turn into a Bobby Portis. Bobby Portis is a lot of things that Mamu does. You can post him up, pick and pop, pick and roll. I mean, Mamu is a much better ball handler and creator with the pass, but you see the outlet for how Mamu can play and the role that he can have on this team. Yep. And if he brings the energy and brings the tenacity, well, then he could be Bobby Portis on a cheap deal. And Bobby Portis is already on a cheap deal.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's, that ties into what, talking about the additions of Semi Ojeleye, Grayson Allen, George Hill, Rodney Hood, Mamu, losing, PJ Tucker, Bryn Forbes, Jeff Teague, Sam Merrill, Mamadi Diakite. I do really believe that the Bucks are a deeper team than they were last year.
Oh, yeah. I think they're
and they were one of the deepest teams in the league last year.
Yeah.
And they stayed deeper. Where they stayed deep, they probably got deeper, and they got younger.
And you know what the Bucks did is they didn't sign any of the flashy free agents either. They just brought guys that fit the system and that are okay playing alongside Giannis and stuff like that. You got TJ Ford on the mind. Before we forget, the Bucks do start next Tuesday. I don't know if Tyler mentioned that already. They start next Tuesday. The ring ceremony will start a little bit before the game, so they'll raise the banner, get their rings. This is going to be the 54th season for the Milwaukee Bucks. So let's see if we can get ring number 3 in season 54.
All right. So a couple things that I just want to mention yet. Giannis playing in the preseason. Obviously, it's preseason, but he looks like he's in midseason form already. Jake talked about some of the passes that he's making and stuff. Yeah. I want to say Georgios Kalatsakis, Delorier, Tremont Waters, and Elijah Bryant. Those are going to be guys to watch for on the herd. Those guys would be guys that could be called up to the active roster, in a situation where they rest all the starters type game. And then the last thing that I want to say is Lisa Byington sounds great. She sounds great as the TV announcer watching some of the preseason game highlights and stuff like that. She sounds like Doris Burke, but has more energy and is just better.
I don't know. If you ask Drake that question, he would not agree.
But I mean, Lisa Byington sounds great. Her and Marcus Johnson have a good commentary relationship. So watching Bucks games, it's going to be sad without Jim Paschke, but Lisa Byington sounds great for doing the TV play-by-play.
I think one of my favorite memories of my life will be that the Bucks sent Jim Paschke off with a ring. And I really hope that the Brewers can do the same for Euchre, man. I really hope one day the Brewers can just send Euchre off with a ring, man.
I mean, Ted Davis got one with the Bucks too, and he retired from the radio. So,
yes, sir.
All right, man. Bucks game next Tuesday. So next Wednesday we're gonna have a Bucks recap to talk about. All right. So next week we're gonna have Badgers recap. We're gonna have Bucks recap. We're gonna have Packers recap. Ooh, and we're gonna be getting into college basketball primer soon. So, even though the Brewers are done, we got some exciting stuff to talk about. We're gonna keep it fun on the show, and we appreciate all the fan interaction. And speaking of fan interaction, want to remind everybody, November 4th, live show, Green Bay Parker Johns, 6:30. It's a 6:30. It's a Thursday night. Come hang out with us. We're going to have a lot of fun, and it's going to be a live show just like this one, except it's going to be all Packers on that day. The Wednesday before that is going to be everything else, and then Thursday is going to be just Packers. So you got anything else?
Well, the other thing is they'll be able to see us in person, so that'll be pretty cool, man. Come eat some wings with us, talk some football.
And a live pie bet. Which,
you're going to see.
Let me give the update real quick.
50-year-old man got a pie shoved in his face by an 8-year-old. It's going to be awesome.
Real quick, the Pick'ems update. Jake, his dad, and I are doing a Pick'ems update. Again, this is kind of crazy, actually. Jake's dad's still in first. He has 57 correct picks through the first 5 weeks. I'm number 2. I have 56 correct picks, and Jake is in third with 54 correct picks.
It's kind of how the pie bet went. The pie bet with the hot dog bet. The hot dog eating contest. Yep. It was very, very close. Like we all had similar numbers, but oh man, if I lose by like 2 or 3, I'm gonna be pissed.
Just keep on CC and Aiden make your picks for you. They do better than you do.
Man, God, they got so lucky. And the Jags. I was like, what the hell are you guys doing, man?
You could have had 15 picks right last week if you just overridden them on that one.
I know, man. I did it with my girlfriend this week. And I told her that she's not allowed to pick the Jaguars, no matter who they're playing. I said, you are not allowed to pick the Jags.
The Jaguars and the Lions are on a race for the first team to go 0-17.
Oh, my God. The Jaguars are worse than the Lions. The Lions are actually a decent team. They could have a couple wins. But, yeah, they're just both used to losing, I guess we'll say.
All right, man. I will see you next Wednesday.
All right, man. Talk to you later.
Take care.